Corporate Sister TV. I'm Solange Lopes and I'm the founder of the Corporate Sister website and brand. Happy New Year 2022 as we're ushering the very first week of this brand new year. And of course, as we're beginning a new year, we are of course thinking of setting goals as working women and moms. Whether we decide to set some goals or not, it's always kind of in the back of our mind, especially with all the very usual and traditional New Year's talk of setting resolutions and goals, or even choosing a word for the new year. However, what we have to realize as working women and moms is that we set goals differently than our male counterparts do, from a behavioral, psychological, and societal perspective. Numerous researches have shown that in actuality, women do set goals differently, more particularly very differently from our male counterparts, which forces us to reassess the way we've been setting goals for centuries. We've been absorbing and buying into the very popular notions of setting SMART goals, for example, or having specific resolutions, whether in our private or professional life, and going after expressions of power or traditional success as has been known forever in society. However, when we take into account the very different ways in which we as working women and moms set goals, not only does it make us reassess the way we do set our goals, but it also helps us give ourselves a little bit of grace and rewrite the rules of setting goals for working women and moms. Some of the differences that have been shown in researches between men and women setting goals include the fact that generally women tend to set lower goals than men. And this is probably due to the lack of self-confidence that has unfortunately been developed throughout time and society, and due to the structural barriers that women have been facing for the longest time. Women also tend to set more private goals as opposed to public goals that are publicized and make available to everyone, and they tend to thrive more with private rather than public goals. Another difference between men and women in terms of setting goals is that women tend to set more life goals than men, and a smaller number of those life goals is associated with achieving power as opposed to our male counterparts. So you can see that these different perspectives and different views and ways of setting goals between men and women can seriously impact the way we can think about the goals that really matter to us and how we can go about turning those goals into reality. So in order to take these differences into account, here are 3 tips that I would like to suggest for us as working women and working moms to keep in mind when setting our goals for the new year and when setting our goals just in general, whether they are personal or professional goals or both, right? The first tip that I would like to suggest is to focus first on setting private rather than public goals. This forces us also to undergo a process of self-introspection, where we can literally go within and really question ourselves as to what is truly important to us, what matters to us in all areas of our lives, and prioritize those elements that are truly crucial to our lives, to our development, to our work and careers as part of our goals. Tip number 2 is to tie our professional goals to our life goals. Very often, we tend to have specific career goals that we think apply just to our work. However, as we've learned through time, and especially with the advent of the recent pandemic, it is becoming increasingly difficult to draw a line in the sand between our work life and our personal life. If anything, there's more of a need to integrate those two. And when it comes to setting goals as working women and moms, considering how life goals are important to us, it becomes then really important to tie in our professional and career goals to our general life goals. That was tip number 2. And last but not least, Tip number 3 is to avoid competitive goals. As has been shown in numerous researches, women tend to thrive better with more of a private goal setting process instead of more public and more competitive goals. So it may help in our goal setting process to avoid goals that are overly competitive and instead focus on goals that require us to be more introspective, to go through more of a private process before even going out and publicizing those goals, and goals that focus more on our personal development, more on our life aspirations and goals than on competing with other people. So these are the 3 tips that I wanted to suggest to you based on the research that has shown the differences between goal setting processes between men and women, and based in general on the evolution that we as working women and moms have been undergoing in the past few years. So as a quick recap, tip number 1 is to start with private goals first rather than public goals. Tip number 2 is to tie our professional goals to our life goals. And tip number 3 is to avoid overly competitive goals. I hope this helps. I would be curious to know what you think about these 3 tips and how you go about your own goal setting process, both personally and professional, and both if you integrate those 2. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.